All right, Super Surfers, let's go ahead and take a quick fraction review of what we learned yesterday. We learned how to find fifths, sixths, and eighths, both with our pizza pie weight and on a number line. Then at the end of our lesson, we recognized an important pattern. We noticed that as our numbers in the denominator position got larger, the pieces got smaller. And we did it with our pizza pie weight and on the number line. So we noticed that 1/2 was bigger than 1/3 and 1/4 because 2 is smaller than all of the other numbers. So we remember that pattern. It's the opposite of what we think in fractions. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece of the fraction. Today we're going to go ahead and we're going to compare some other kinds of fractions on our number line. All right, let's get started. As you can see, I drew a number line because we're going to compare fractions on our number line today. Let's begin by looking at the fraction 2/3. Since the numerator always tells us how many pieces we're counting, I know that we're going to be counting 2 pieces. The denominator tells us how many parts are making up the whole, so I know that there are going to be 3 pieces. So using my blue marker, I'm going to split my number line into 3 equal pieces. Okay, so we have 3 equal pieces. This is 1/3 because that's the first piece, and then this is going to be 2/3 because that's my second out of 3 pieces. 1/2 would be 3/3. I'm going to put a closed shaded circle on 2/3. Again, I know that my blue marker shows thirds. Now I want to look at the fraction 1/4. I'm going to use my green marker for this. 1/4 is one of our unit fractions that we learned about previously, meaning that I'm counting 1 out of my 4 pieces. So now I need to split up my number line into 4 equal pieces. I'm going to start by splitting it in half, and then in half again. Okay, so this is going to be 1/4. As you can see, it's just a little bit smaller than 1/3. This is going to be 2/4, and this is going to be 3/4. 1, or 1/2, would be 4/4. I'm going to put a closed shaded circle on 1/4 because that's the fraction I'm looking for. Now I'm looking on my number line, and I'm looking at the 2 shaded circles I spy. I see 1/4 is here, and I see 2/3 is here. 2/3 seems to be much further ahead, meaning it's closer to 1. So I know that 2/3 is greater than 1/4. We remember our special terms, greater than, less than, and equal to. What would the alligator want to eat? Well, we know that the alligator is very hungry all the time, and he loves fractions for dessert, so he always wants to eat the biggest or the greatest fraction he could possibly get for dessert. So he is going to want to eat 2/3 since it's bigger than 1/4. Let's go ahead and try another one. So now we're going to compare 1/2, meaning that it has 2 equal parts on the number line. So I know that this is going to be 1 and this is going to be 1. So I'm going to say this is about halfway. I'm going to put my closed shaded circle on the fraction 1/2, meaning I'm counting 1 part out of 2. My next fraction we're going to look at is 4/5. Okay, so when I spy the denominator 5, I know that I need 5 equal parts. So I'm going to go ahead and split this up into 5 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I'm going to label them now. 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, and 4/5. And again, I know that the whole is when I have all of the pieces. Okay, so I'm going to put a closed shaded circle on 4/5. Now I'm going to compare the dots that I see shaded in. I see a dot here at 1/2, and I see another closed circle at 4/5. Which one would the alligator want to eat? Well, he wants the one that's the biggest or the greatest, and it's closest to 1. So I think he's going to want to eat 4/5 because that is the bigger fraction. So we know that 4/5 is greater than 1/2. Let's do another one. Now let's begin by finding the fraction 4/6. When I spy the denominator 6, I know that I need to have 6 equal pieces. So I'm going to begin by breaking up my number line into 6 equal parts. Let's go ahead and label each part. 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, and 6/6 as a whole. Well, 4/6 is going to be right here, so I'm going to put a nice closed circle on 4/6. Now, let's look at the fraction 1/3. I know that thirds mean I only need 3 equal pieces. So I'm going to split this up into 3 equal pieces. Okay, here is 1/3. So I'm going to put a closed shaded circle on 1/3. When considering what the alligator wants to eat, I look at my shaded circles. I see that 4/6 is over here and 1/3 is over here. I know that 4/6 is greater than 1/3, so the alligator is going to want to eat that for his fraction dessert. Let's find out what would happen if we had to compare fractions with the same numerator. So we're going to compare the fractions 2/3 and 2/8. Let's begin by finding 2/3 on our number line. We split it into 3 equal parts and label each fraction on the number line. I'm going to put a closed shaded circle at 2/3 since that's the fraction that I'm looking for. Now let's find 2/8 on our number line. I know that I need 8 equal pieces since that's my denominator. So I'm going to begin by splitting this in half and then in half again. And then labeling each fraction on the number line. Now I need to put a closed shaded circle on the fraction 2/8. So here it is, less than 1/3. So I'm putting my closed shaded circle there. Now I need to figure out which one is larger, or which fraction is greater. So I see that the dot for 2/3 is over here, and the shaded circle is over here for 2/8. So I know that 2/3 is greater than 2/8. I am remembering my pattern that we learned about earlier. We learned that as the denominator gets larger, the pieces get smaller. So if I'm counting 2 pieces on the different fractions, but I'm counting the same number, I can look at my denominators and I can determine which piece is going to be greater and which piece is going to be smaller. I know that thirds are larger pieces, they're greater pieces than eighths. So I know that since I'm counting 2 from both fractions, I can look at the denominator and know that 2/3 is greater than 2/8. When we found both fractions on our number line, we discovered that trick does work, and that's a good method for solving in a hurry. Let's discover what would happen if we were comparing 2 fractions with the same denominator but different numerators. We're looking at 4/6 and 5/6. When finding 4/6 on the number line, we're going to put a closed shaded circle on 4/6 because we know that we're counting 4 out of the 6 parts. When looking at the number line for 5/6, we put a closed shaded circle on 5/6 because we know that we're counting 5 out of the 6 parts of the whole. Because the same number of parts, 6, make up the whole, we can look at the numerator to determine that 5 is greater than 4. When looking at the number line, we know that 5/6 is greater than 4/6. Therefore, the alligator would want to eat 5/6 instead of 4/6 for dessert. Let's have a quick recap to review what we learned today. If you have 2 fractions with different numerators and denominators, then use the number line to compare and find the greater fraction. If you have two fractions that have the same numerator, then look at the denominator and remember our pattern. If you have two fractions that have the same denominator, look at the numerator. Which number is greater? Go ahead and write down these rules and any questions you may have and bring them to class tomorrow so we can review.